Welcome to Series 4, Episode 3 of the Lunchtime Livestream. And today I'm going to be talking with a very good friend of mine and fellow freelancer, self-employed, events, amazing woman, Alison Rouse. And we're going to talk about the fate of the freelancer. A lot of people are talking about a year on from the beginning of COVID, and it's also the beginning of the financial year, that time when if we actually do our businesses right, we should be doing our accounts so that at Christmas, we're not doing our accounts. But hey, who does that? But hey, I'm really going to try and do that. So first of all, if you need closed captioning, please use Chrome browser. If it's not working for you, Chrome settings, advanced, accessibility, live captions, and you will need to restart your browser. Once you've done that, come back and it should kick in straight away. If you would like to have closed captions and you don't have Chrome browser, the way that I can recommend is if you use your mobile phone and you have otter.ai, it's going across the bottom at the moment. So closed captions with Otter AI. Open the app on your mobile, start a session, sit your device beneath your monitor, and it will pick up the audio and it will transcribe it for you. So it's kind of a bit of a hack around, but you can do it that way as well. So today, the fate of the freelancer, whether you're a freelance entrepreneur, sole trader, self-employed, whatever you class yourself as, it's really hard times. And it's been difficult when a lot of work just dried up. But some freelancers did find that the embracing of digital, and this has happened for me, because we moved the consciousness of digital forward probably 5 years, some people may even see 10 years in terms of engagement and how people started to use technology because they needed to access content, not because they had to download the latest app. Because the biggest battle before COVID was finding the way of getting someone to download the app to use it, and whether it was live streaming or whether you were embedding it in your website, which I think is a really good way to go. If you can embed into your website, then you just send people there. But it was so hard to pick the right platforms to get the connectivity, and so much has been advanced in the last year that it's actually quite hard to comprehend. So today I'm just wanting to have a little bit of a reflection with a friend about what we were doing at the beginning of last year, how we entered into COVID, and what the year has been and what we might see the future of being. After that little conversation, there's a few things I want to share with you, but also we're going to try and turn our conversation to it being about us as looking after ourselves and keeping our own well-being in mind, and a little, maybe a few tips of how we kind of reflect on that. Not that we're particularly brilliant at that particular thing, and it's something that we're constantly working at and constantly dialoguing about. How do you look after your own mental health? How do you learn from people around you? And hopefully we'll be able to give you a bit of a grounding, real perspective on, what that means for us. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome onto screen my good friend, Alison Rouse. Hello, my lovely.
Hi, Karen. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for joining me.
That's good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so anyone who doesn't know Alison, Alison Rouse, House of Rouse, at Auntie Alison on Twitter, do follow her. Introduce yourself.
That's my personal Twitter, which people may find a little political. So I have got house_of_Rouse.
So personal. It is, isn't it? We're kind of a little bit afraid to be ourselves sometimes in business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's sensible to keep certain things separate. Do you know what I mean? Because people engage with your views, and sometimes because of that they may miss the circulation of information they need about events and things like that, and where to go and what to do. But people do buy from people at the end of the day, so you've got to be human.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, I mean, PCM Creative is me, and I think as an entrepreneur and as a sole trader, I am my business, and especially as a creative. I think the difference that really struck with me is a lot of business networking that I do at entrepreneurial level. A lot of the conversation about working on your business, not in your business. I understand that completely. But the other part that really strikes me is the notion of an exit strategy.
I mean, I think there's phases in business. I mean, there was a phase a few years ago where you were taught that you should always say we instead of I, because I was limiting. I meant that you were one person business. That meant that you would, something, happened, that you were doing everything, and that people wouldn't find that an attractive prospect. Now it's 180. Now it's, if you can say I, say I. If you are a sole trader, a solopreneur, and as we've just said, people buy from people, and it's your creativity often. I mean, even in the events industry, it's your creativity they're buying into. If you're coming up with unique or different ways of performing the same function that's going to draw attention to them and their brand, that's you.
Yeah, and it's also dealing, I think, as an events organizer and coordinator, you're walking that line between business to business rather than business to consumer. So although your consumers tend to be businesses, therefore,
but it will be an individual in a business. So what you're talking to is business person to business person, as opposed to business person to B2C.
So before COVID, as I said, my background's very much in creative industries and working with the entertainment industry. But you, as an event organizer, you circulating some kind of a more community events based work. And so just tell us a little bit about House of House.
Well, I'd started out about 13 years ago now, actually, to be honest. God, time flies. I'd started out because, in essence, I used to be a communications person in a business, like sort of internal communications, and I'd gone to outsource part of the event stuff I was doing, and was really kind of disappointed at the lack of flexibility I found. Things were modular to a certain extent, but that was rarer then. And I just sat there and I thought, I can do better. So I did. And that was about 13, set something up, and that was about 13 years ago. What I've found is, I think I'm one of the few events professionals who measures their events, so clients can actually understand what their return on their investment is. All my events are designed, there's so much more than a nice to have. They are a thing that you can use to achieve your goals, and those goals can be measurable. So it could be about increasing footfall in something. It could be about promoting a product. It could be quite varied. So I've worked across various sectors, but providing a measurable event service. And I think that's actually, with what's happening at the moment, stood me in really good stead, because people see events as a nice to have, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, especially now that there's the physical and digital, and I often follow along with the events industry and how they've struggled and how they've really started to introduce. They throw technology at the situation, which is a great thing. But then are we going to be back in the same situation where we're trying to convince someone to go to a particular platform? And I think for the big conferences. So in terms of measurable, what are the things that you would always measure? What does measurable mean to you?
Those metrics would be agreed with each client, they're bespoke, because if they're trying to achieve something, then that, whatever those measurables are, would be working towards that. So it could be that you want to increase something. So it could be that you want to increase your membership of an organization. So then you would literally have a percentage figure that you would measure against after that, and you would probably use codes or something like that to show that it was the actual process itself that brought the people in. I just wanted to pick up on something you said in the intro, actually. I would say it's moved things forward at least 5 years to 10 years in terms of the digital thing. It's just whether it's in place long enough for people to have changed patterns of behaviour. So it's whether, because, I mean, more so yourself, I would have said, but I spent years saying, why don't we do this digitally?
Yeah.
And then going, oh, no, we must have everybody in person.
Yeah.
And now I've got one organisation that has 2 big event conferences, things that they have every year. The cost of it is phenomenal. The travel costs they have to pay in expenses is phenomenal. They also have to pay the accommodation costs of all the attendees. So it was like, oh, hang on a minute. It hit them in the wallet. Because all of a sudden, they could have everybody logging on from their sofa. They didn't have to travel. The timings were different. The pressures were different. And they had to alter their event slightly, but not by much.
But I think also what has become clear is that the thing you cannot get away with is having good technicians and engineers and hosts. And the personnel to make a good digital event work. You need to have the personnel. And I think where you could have people turning up to a venue and people know venue mechanic enough to know that you find the front door, you then find the help desk. And as long as you provide those marker points in a physical space, you can use the physical environment to guide your audience. And then you get them into the main hall. And then you've got to have the good program for people to then know where to go next. Announcements, notice boards, things that people will go and look for. In a digital event, you are relying on someone sat at their desk. So the materials you give them and the guidance and the confidence to just enjoy the event is a lot more. Yeah, I do worry that there'll be a backlash against digital. And I've had a few conversations where the backlash for digital is not about, okay, we can be physical again, which is great. But a lot of the people that have really thrived during digital have been the people that never had the physical experience in the first place.
I mean, and then you've got the accessibility. Then you've got the accessibility thing, And I mean, the thing is, I think the one thing you can't replace over a digital experience is that you can't hug anybody. So, with the exception of that, and there's certain types of events where I want to call it the water cooler chat effect. That the bits you pick up by mingling in an exhibition hall,
corridor conversation,
you can't do that. You can't accidentally walk into something. You can't hook up with people you haven't seen for 6 months at the bar to the same extent.
There's also the introvert extrovert thing, because actually I do that stuff at events, but I make myself do it. I don't
you don't feel comfortable.
Enjoy it.
But there are other things that are coming online now, whereas I mean, we're polar opposites in that respect, as you know. So I'm the one that. Exactly. We're perfectly complementary.
Like, I am happiest behind a sound desk or in front of a keyboard.
And it's like just whang me out there in front of 6,000 people, going right then, everyone, and I'm okay. So, but there's new VR stuff coming out now, which is it. What interests me is if we have been in this digital space for long enough for people to make that step into VR event, virtual reality events, or whether it would take another, because you know what it's like, catastrophe brings change. So whether it would take something that was another sort of real pivotal life-changing event to actually make that leap into VR. Because when you've got things, there's one called Go Mingle or something like that. I can't remember. But basically, you don't even need a lot. It's very basic. You don't need a headset. What you're doing is you create an avatar and then you trundle around this screen where there's other people in a VR space. That is something entirely different. That is the start of something that's going to be massive. And then you can put on a headset and go to an event.
And then it's kind of who uses it and the onboarding of those. I mean, I was directed towards the National National Students Theatre Fest. I can't remember the acronym now, but the National Student Theatre Festival is running at the moment. I think it's got another couple of days left. And even as someone who is a theatre practitioner, and I find it difficult to know how to participate. And
Right.
part of that journey is an interesting one, but it also makes me question how audiences who aren't questioning and knowing how these things are set up, or maybe I ask too many questions, maybe I overthink
No. I think that it's one of those things where you need to go to other people's events that you have nothing to do with to understand the attendee journey to your own event.
Yeah.
Because if it's not obvious, it's the same mechanism we'd go through with a physical event. What are the things you need to know when you know where the front door is? That's the first thing, obviously very important. So not telling them where the event is, big no. Call me a traditionalist. Once you get through there, what are the things you immediately want? You want to know where the different layout is. You want to know where everything is, and potentially you want to know where the toilets are. You know, where can I get a tea and coffee? Where are the toilets? Where are the different rooms with things going on? Right? You understand that when you go to another event because your personal experience is, how did I get onboarded? Once I got onboarded, did I get, your micro stuff, like I get my badge and how was that done? And, but trust me, where's the tea and coffee? It's not micro. It's really serious. That bit that funnels everybody away from the main desk, that clears the onboarding area, send them over there for a brew and a biscuit, right? So those things, from a digital perspective, you need to walk the journey of the attendee to understand how to do a digital event, because otherwise you won't spot the things, because it's one of those. One of the first sins of internal communications is assuming that just because you know, they know. So you need to check out whether you know.
Going to other people's events is just really important. So, as I say, doing so much of the physical stuff. I mean, you've been on the live stream probably this time last year, but you've always been in Minor Oak, which is the co-working space. I can't wait to get back to. As I say, we'll do a live stream from there when it's all back open again. But what happened to your year then? What happened to your year?
I have jokingly been saying it became 2020, the year with 18 months in it, because that's what it felt like. Time just evaporated. Days got mixed up. People lost track of where they were and who they were to a certain extent. It was the spending capacity of people just shifted like that, mainly because it wasn't, oh, we're in lockdown, then it was the uncertainty. Are we in lockdown? Are we not? How long are we in for? What are you allowed to do? Oh, now we're allowed to do this. Oh, no, we're not allowed to do this. So people were putting a lot of things on a back burner. And we all know what happens to things that go on a back burner. They get superseded by events.
Oh, and they go, coming up. Oh, there's so many links into the next thing.
It just kind of completely, I think, now I'm going to come to the positive bits in a minute, but I think probably I've lost at least £10,000 worth of work through that year, minimum.
And
probably in deposits and stuff like that. However,
just to put that into perspective, we are the sorts of entrepreneurs and creatives that actually live very minimally. So actually, £10,000 is a lot of money to us.
The thing is, I was just building up my business to the point where I was going to take somebody on. At which point, obviously, I got a certain amount of buffer zone. That buffer zone just evaporated. And the other thing that was important, I think, was that the number of people who were either directors of limited companies but still solopreneurs, or like myself, who fell between the gaps of the government schemes and got nothing. Because I got nothing. I got a bounce back loan from my bank, which is now due to be repaid, I think probably in June. I can't remember what date. But we haven't had time to start trading in inverted commas properly yet.
But I think
now, I was going to say the thing that was really good was, for instance, things like working back of house on digital events with yourself. There was that 2-week festival we did of events every single day for one client, doing loads of different things with loads of different keynote speakers, with loads of different topics. Because one of the things about digital is you can pull people together and pull topics together and put them together in an event that you just would not physically be able to do if you were doing physical. It would be exorbitantly expensive. Imagine getting someone like Jane Goodall, the person who lives out there with gorillas and does all her eco stuff. I think she's been doing it for decades. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, she's more than capable of traveling, but she's in I can't remember where she is in America at the moment, wherever she is. But how would we get her over to this country, put her up for a few days?
Yeah, it's a great level, isn't it?
Or instead of, all we need to do is,
it's a great level.
Such, exactly. And it gives you such an opportunity to connect with people. Brilliant.
Yeah. No, and as I say, there's a lot of well, the next little section that we move on to, which sounds that sense of death.
Sounds like a very serious title, doesn't it?
It is Death and Rebirth, and I think at times like this, I always start to go back to sort of a spiritual sense of the world and nature and eco and what that means, and depending on how you connect with the energy of the world. And I always remember starting. I will often reflect on Nordic runes to tap into my self-conscious and to have conversations with my own self-conscious, which is what I find Nordic runes really useful for. And as well in tarot, that the death card does not mean horrible,
means change.
horrible death. It means change. It means rebirth. It means, and the combination of where the cards lay and where the stones lay can be
it's like the Hanged Man doesn't mean death, or it means change of perspective.
The huge death and rebirth that I'm metaphorically going through at the moment is everything. I've started to produce or look at producing my own work theatrically. So I've been producing events, like when I did TEDx a long time ago. A lot of the events that I do, it's me setting the table of saying I can produce. I can do this, and it's for myself. And that's been leading on for me to realize a career-long project that came from when I first read Paul Auster's City of Glass. And it's well worn, this particular copy, and it's got stage directions in it. As if I'm going to make this in one day, I'm going to make this into a play. And I've had it planned for a long time and how the technology would work. And I've actually reached the point in my career where I could do that. And I've had a couple of points in my career where this happened. And I actually had a conversation with a very good friend and mentor who has got the right to some very big intellectual properties over the years. And we had the conversation last night about the reality of how would you go about getting the rights and the royalties to a book. And it turns out they already belong to somebody. I did see the play that was done at the Home. I just wasn't advanced enough because the guys that did City of Glass, the stage adaptation, in 2017 it was now. In fact, I have the poster on my back wall. You can see the big yellow poster. Yeah. One next to it that's got, I always think it looks like Bagpuss when I look at it in reverse. It looks like Bagpuss is sat to the side of the yellow poster. That is the poster for the City of Glass that was done at the Home. And it then transferred to the Lyric Hammersmith in London. It was very successful. And whether they've still got the rights, I'm going to look into it as a curiosity. But it really drew a line in the sand for me that although it was bad news, it was like, okay, so what does that mean next? If taking a book that hasn't got a script connected to it, I realized very quickly during a conversation, is a lot more work that. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, definitely. You really need somebody who's experienced in pulling out a script from a book.
My excitement is going to be looking at stage plays that I already have on my shelves. That over the years I've thinned out my bookshelves and stuff, but I've kept the plays that I really love. Is there one of those that I can produce? But more excitingly is starting to look at local playwrights and writing groups. So the East Midlands writers, are there any playwrights in the Midlands who are writing stuff that might adapt to my sense of technological presentation and producing? So although it was it was a very big death, to the extent that this is probably going to lead to the changing of the name and the branding of my business.
Wow. Okay.
Because PCM Creative is, PCM stands for purple cog monster, who is this, who will still exist. But the cog in Cog Monster stands for City of Glass. It has been baked into my contract since I started my business in 1996. And I've never been advanced enough to be able to do this back burner project, and to know that now professionally, this is not likely to ever be something that I can produce, especially at this stage of my career. It's a real weight, and it's been one of many things. I know we spoke at the beginning of the week after I needed to scale. Where do you go next? So, the thing
is, I think it's really important. I mean, pardon me saying this, but when we say at this stage of our career, or that not advanced enough, I think we need to drop the phrase "not advanced enough," because you are at this stage of your career, right? In a way, bear with me. The only reason I say that is because there are two options here, as far as I see it, logo and business-wise. Number one is the cog goes. Number two is it doesn't, because although it, yes, okay, that's been baked in since the beginning, and it's not a
go, because before that I was always Cog Productions.
Yeah.
Wheels in Motion. So no, it's not. And also
it's just that because it's the basis of where you've come from.
But in terms
so
of
having that in there is really important.
I think it is important for people to say when and not if. I think it's very important, but it's also really important to meter your ego, and especially in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of people whose ego, and I just am not consumed by ego. So I'm very aware of my perspective and metering, and just being humble in a profession that I'm very privileged that I network and encounter people who are at stages in their career that I can admire and aspire to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will be there. I might not also being the different elements, which leads me on to, as we bring this to the end, there's elections coming up, and I know we are both political animals in our own way, and some cities have got metro mayors, and as a creative worker, and anyone who works in the entertainment industry or in the arts or in heritage or tourism, there's an element that we need. There's the health service, which is incredibly important, and without a functioning health service, but once you've got your health and once you've got your living wage, the thing that you keep those good for is so that you have access to culture and art, and a way of putting that into context and a way of giving that meaning. So I'm going to try and do something a bit more. We'll have something a little more extra creative. I can go like this, and I can actually. There is a website, and it is on the screen now. It's the Creative Workforce Pledge, and the first page of it is about writing to candidates. So you literally put your first name in, your last name, your email, and your postcode. If you are not in a postcode area with a mayor, it says, we're really sorry, but there's not you, but tell a friend, which is what happened to me. But I think there's a lot of talk at the moment in the arts sector, especially about how we fund work going forward, and what does the new funding structures look like. And this is just, I think, something that will give our mayors, but also you can download this pledge card and send it to your MP. Or
I was going to say, can you send it to MPs? That would be good.
Yeah, so have this conversation, and just very briefly, it's got creative connections, creative entrepreneurs, a cultural forum, creative regions. That also, I think, needs to extend to the nations as well. That Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland, as decentralised part of the United Kingdom, need to have their identities championed.
Well, power and choices need to be devolved to the appropriate level at which they need to be made, don't they? Really.
Yeah. And also the other one that I think people should have a good look at is this one, which is no, I thought I had a little caption for it, but I don't. But the website will be in the notes. But this is also Freelancers Make Theatre Work, and signing up to these and seeing what's going on and sharing these stories. I come across a lot of people who say, this is being done, no one else is doing it. And actually, you'll find
They
out
are,
if you ever
yeah.
say that phrase, you must go back to your computer and type that phrase in and see where things are happening.
Yeah,
because I know
absolutely.
Policy, the freelancers make work, and over COVID, creatives have come together like never before. They have found each other. I've been attending producers pool. I've been attending the West Midlands diversity of neurodiversity. I've joined a producers group. I've been able to connect more than ever before, and it's and it's just been it has been amazing. So people should really engage as best you can when you go back to physical, have conversations, but make sure you're referring people back to the digital, because that is the place where everybody's digital until they're physical, and it is the precedent. Building forums, going back and posting content, all that sort of stuff. So,
we have got a comment from Mike Beardmore in the chat. I see that VR experience has to improve to be popular, and Halo has promised with MR. So, I mean, just to say, yeah, it's not there yet, but I think we're seeing the start of it where it will.
Yeah. Oh, and again, there's the stuff that's happening all the time that people don't even realize has happened. I mean, there's the virtual reality immersive experience of War of the Worlds that was running for over a year before lockdown.
And then there's, is it Oculus? Something Oculus?
No, that's actually something you go to a physical location, to a warehouse. You have a whole onboarding process where you all get given headsets and you get taken through an experience, and it's got sound and light, and some places halfway through it you all take your headsets off and it's a bar, and you're actually Secret Cinema, which has been going for years, is a similar thing. This kind of immersion of digital blending with physical has been happening. It's finding those things. But if people want to have some more conversations, one of the things that are happening at the moment on Monday, I am currently screening via Zoom BBC iPlayer watch party conversation and catch up, and the Adam Curtis documentaries, a series that came out a few weeks ago, probably a couple of months ago now. Just screening them. It's a private screening. There's no charge to attend. It's the equivalent of me having a house party and we all meeting up for pizza and coffee, which we can't do anymore. And I miss being able to.
Oh God, yeah.
But this is, I will be showing the documentary for the first hour. People turn up to Zoom. You can use the chat, but there's no talk. Once it's finished, we'll all come on screen and we'll have an hour of just having a bit of a chat about it. So
excellent. That's really good. Cool.
That's that one. So I think we're coming to that time where I'm going to close down this stream. Really, thank you, Alison, for joining me. But I'm going to leave I'm going to leave us with the production or the live stream that I'm doing on Tuesday, which is Sound Me a Song on screen at the moment, with a Mr. Shea, who is a beatboxer. He's going to be live in a library in Leicester. And what I'm going to do is bring us both on screen to say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Alison. Subscribe.
Thanks for having me on, Karen.
Wherever you are watching, whether it's on YouTube or whether you're on Facebook or whether you are on Twitter, do like and subscribe or follow, whichever is appropriate. If you want to get in touch with me, you want to be on the show, production office at pcmprojects.co.uk. And I've also been daily blogging since the end of 2020. So do check out my blog. So not only am I able to say Sound Me a Story is on Tuesday and there is a link there, but we also have a little trailer. So I am going to end the live stream. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Alison, with the little trailer video to show you. So thank you very much, everyone. And I hope you will comment, like, subscribe. And this is a little taste. If you want to join on Tuesday with your young ones, it's aimed at children from the age of 7 upwards. And this is what it's looked like.
I need you all to do your best slime moves. Does it stretch?